What is going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of last minute study time with me before the big day this weekend. I'm assuming most of you guys are taking the SAT on Saturday. If you are, go ahead and give me a thumbs up in the chat. And I do have a bit of a delay as far as what I'm seeing in the chat, so if I don't respond to you, sorry. I do have a little bit of a delay. But let's just get right into it, guys. So, if you are, go ahead and give me a thumbs. And we are going to be talking about some hacks for the SAT that can boost your score quickly if you don't already know them. But before that, I want to know what your guys' goal score is. So go ahead and drop that in the chat for me. And before we start, a couple of things that are going to help you to get the most out of this. Number one, I'm going to give you several actual SAT style questions on screen that you should be trying to solve on your own. Now, I'm not trying to make everybody wait, so I will be jumping right in and explaining how to answer them, but I do encourage you to try and answer them on your own first. In fact, I'll make it a challenge. If you can get the answer before I get a chance to explain it, then good on you. All right, I'm seeing some goal scores rolling in here. So we got Akshat. Oh, Akshat just giving us thumbs up. Safa 1100, Creep Nico 1400, Unknown Doge 1550 or above. I'm loving it. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you're just jumping in here, we're about to get started. So another thing I want you to know, I will be answering questions at the end, or at least as much as I have time for. I've only got about 45 minutes. I apologize for that, but I've got a busy life. I actually have a 3-month-old, which is one of the reasons I haven't done a live stream in a very long time. So pretty busy, but happy to have you guys here. Drop your questions in the chat. I will try to get to them at the end. And then last thing, I do have a special deal for anyone who sticks around until the end. More on that a little bit later, but let's get into the good stuff here. So, first hack is going to be to read one sentence. And this is specific for punctuation questions. How do we know we're dealing with punctuation questions? Well, we have different punctuation options, right? And the sentence that you're going to read, as you may have guessed, is the one that has the blank space. So, let's try it with this one. His music, according to Gibbard, often explores themes of this, this, and this. All right. I just so happen to have circled the right answer. So this one is going to be classic comma sandwich. And if you're not sure what a comma sandwich is, it's something I go into in great detail in my course. It's basically non-essential information that is sandwiched between two commas, and we can test for it by getting rid of it. So if I were to eliminate according to Gibbard, our sentence is going to sound like, his music often explores themes of love, loss, and existential longing. And as you can hear, that sounds just fine, right? There's an echo? Oh no. How do I stop the echo? There should not be an echo. Is going to sound like, his music often explores themes of love, loss, and existential. Sorry guys, I'm trying to fix the echo. It's been a long time since I've done this. All right, I'm gonna do my best here to eliminate the echo. I'm just gonna mute my sound altogether and see if that helps. Sorry about that. Oh, I think I know what it might be. Here, I'm just going to mute all this stuff. If there is not an echo anymore, please let me know. And apologies for the echo. All right, so as I was saying, if we get rid of this, we have his music often explores themes of love, loss, and existential longing. And as you can hear, that sounds great. Thank you guys for telling me about the echo. It's my first live stream in a while, so still working things out, but it looks like we got it fixed. And some of you might be thinking, well, what the heck, man? I know that dashes can also set off non-essential information, so why can't D work? Well, the reason would be you can't mix and match. Since we already started with a comma, we're going to have to end with a comma as well. All right. So next one, same thing. If you have time, go ahead and try this one on your own first, but we're going to skip all of this stuff and we're going to jump right up to this sentence. And I see a little introductory phrase. I'm going to ignore that as well. The couple converted a vacant lot in the city into an apiary. In the years that followed, they acquired 9 additional lots and established more than 35 hives. So I see a couple of different comma options, and I see the word and. I'm going to take a look and check for independent clauses. I can see in the comments some of you are looking for the same thing. So the couple converted a vacant lot in the city into an apiary. Is that a full independent clause? Yes, that's a sentence. On the right side, in the years that followed, they acquired 9 additional lots and established more than 35 hives. Also a full sentence, which means I need either a period, semicolon, colon, or the only option I have here is the combination of a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunction being one of the fanboys. So for, and, nor, or, but, yet, and so. And nothing else is going to work here. It looks like a lot of you guys are getting it, so good job. All right, last one for read one sentence. Just as before, I'm going to ignore the first sentence, and I'm going to ignore this introductory phrase. And we got the team was able to determine how current driven mixing varies across regions and what impact it has on the distribution of heat and nutrients in the ocean. A lot of students I work with fall for this trick, which is just throwing punctuation in where it doesn't belong, simply because we have sort of a long sentence. Rather than look for specific rules, they're just thinking, well, I mean, the sentence is pretty long at this point, so I better add some punctuation. But what we have here is how this stuff varies across regions and what impact it has. We don't have 2 full independent clauses, so we don't need a comma. We don't need anything. So yeah, it is going to be choice D. And it looks like a lot of you guys are getting that as well. So again, the hack there is to save time by ignoring anything except for the one sentence that contains the blank space. All right, before we move on to our next hack, importantly, we are studying for the SAT, so I'm going to offer you guys a chance to get a perfect score on the SAT right now with some super awesome throwbacks. If you get all of the super awesome throwbacks correct, then you got a perfect score on the SAT today. So, in the chat, I just want you to answer, who is this man? That is your challenge. I'll give you guys just a second, but I need to get moving along here. So, this is Jean-Luc Picard, also known as Patrick Stewart. Jean-Luc Picard, of course, being the captain of the Enterprise in Star Trek The Next Generation. Someone said Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, did he? You guys are great. And yeah, Patrick Stewart is the actor. So be ready for the next super awesome throwback in just a second here. Okay. Hack number 2 is going to be a math one. And this is to focus on the slope. And this is specifically for any systems of linear equations where you have either no solution or infinite solutions. The reason being that either way, they're going to have the same slope. So if you think about, like, it's going to be really, no, it's kind of pretty. It's kind of pretty. If you think about 2 lines that never touch each other, right? That would be no solutions. They're parallel. So they don't have the same y-intercept, but they do have the same slope. So that's the same slope. And then if I were to stack 2 lines on top of each other, they would literally be the same line. So they would also have the same slope, only difference being that they would also have the same y-intercept. But the point is, with both of these types of questions, start by focusing on the slope, because the vast majority of the time, if you just match those up, you're done. For this one, for example, a and ax equals 2x, so a equals 2, right? Super fast. This next one, it looks a little bit more complicated. And it is, but if you think about the principle of just focusing on the slope, there's a conclusion that we can draw. And a lot of you might be tempted to switch to slope-intercept form because you can very easily see the slope in slope-intercept form. But if you think about it, if I said y equals 2x plus 3, what's the slope? It's 2, right? If I said 2y equals 4x plus 6, what's the slope? It's still going to be 2, because after we divide everything by 2, it's going to be 2x. The point of this is that because they have the same slope, the ratio between the coefficients being the numbers in front of x and y, are always going to be the same. So basically, whatever happens to y or to x, in order to change into the new equation, it's going to be the same process. So I'm noticing we're looking at infinite solutions, and what's happening to y? We're going from 1/5 to just 1. We're multiplying by 5. So all we have to do is do the same thing to x. 1/2 times 5, also known as 5 over 1, is 5 over 2. And that is our answer. And good on you guys for getting the right answer. I'm seeing Matthew Kawira, very nice. Sir, just S-E-U-R, very cool name. Good job. All right. This one looks even scarier. But I'm telling you, if we just focus on the slope, especially since it has no solution, we can completely ignore anything that is not going to get attached to x or y, because, like we said, they're never going to have the same y-intercept, right? So this number I don't care about, this number I don't care about, this number I don't care about. And now I just want to get them looking like each other. So I'm going to get the top one to look like the bottom one by moving my y over to the right side. So we have negative 3 over 2y. In order to get that over, I'm going to subtract 3 over 2y, which is going to be, of course, negative 6 over 2y, or negative 3y. Cool. Now, what is happening to x? So this is no longer on this side. So we have negative 1/4 x transforming into 1/2 x. How do we get there? If we multiply by negative 2, we would get 1/2 x, right? So let's just multiply by negative 2. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. So our answer is 6. All right, and it looks like a couple of you guys got this one as well. Good job, Turkish and George. I'm assuming your name is George because it says George is a beast. Apparently you are a beast because you got the right answer, so good job. All right. Got another super awesome throwback for you. So for this one, let me get my face out of the way. What movie is this image from? I'll give you guys 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Princess Bride, one of my favorite movies of all time. And if you haven't seen it, you are failing. So please, take some time after the SAT, of course, and go ahead and check it out. I saw somebody, I said I was answering questions at the end, but somebody was asking, does this work for Desmos? The answer is almost always yes. Desmos can do so many things. I'm not going to be, talking about Desmos today. And while Desmos can do almost anything on the SAT, it is not always the fastest option. So if you guys watch more of my videos or, sign up for my course, you'll be learning about not just the power of Desmos, but also when it might not be the best idea to use Desmos. All right, let's get back into it. So hack 3 is called the front flip. And this applies specifically to these types of questions, which you may know as modifier questions. A lot of my private tutoring students see these and they say to themselves, what the heck, man? I feel like all 4 answers are correct. What am I looking for here? It seems almost subjective, In this case, I did make a mistake and forget to add a period to all these, but let's pretend that there's periods. Sorry about that. And the front flip is going to be taking the answers and throwing them onto the front of the question stem. And to be clear, these are modifier questions. And the way that we know we're dealing with modifier questions is we have different starts to our phrases here, right? Specifically, it's usually going to be different subjects. So choice A, for example, the subject is Robert's beard. Choice B, it's the fact, so on and so forth. But all we're trying to do is match the answers to the front of the question stem before the comma. So let me just show you what I mean. If I throw this on, we would say, Robert's beard is old and bald. See what we're doing? We're taking that subject, we're applying it to the front. Robert's beard is old and bald. Does that make sense? No, a beard cannot be old, nor can it be bald because it is, it's a beard. It is nothing but hair. B, we would say, get out of there. Get out of there. All right, my eraser is not working. There we go. B, we would say the fact is old and bald. That also makes no sense. C, Robert is old and bald. Now that sounds like some truth. And then D, it is old and bald. No. So it is going to be Robert. And that's all we have to do, really. By the way, for these questions, existential it, I have never, ever seen that as the correct answer. I don't know how that would work. So that's usually a pretty quick elimination, by the way. So go ahead and try that trick on this one. But let's get into it. Sumerians are far from being modern inventions. Sumerians are people. They're not inventions. That doesn't work. Drinking straws are far from being modern inventions. Yeah. Drinking straws, while they're very, common now, at one point they were an invention. The use of drinking straws is a modern invention. No, the use is just an action. And then ancient Mesopotamia is far from being a modern invention. That doesn't make sense because that's a place. A place is not an invention, it's a place. So you can see by just kind of logically putting things together and figuring out which one of these makes sense, you're going to get your answer very quickly, and you're going to be able to move on to bigger and better things. You guys are doing great, by the way. I'm seeing B's all over the place. Well done. All right, last one. We're going to do the same trick. This one, a little bit longer, but we can see a coming-of-age story. And even though it's really long, I'm just going to latch on to that first part, a coming-of-age story. Morocco is a coming-of-age story. No, again, Morocco is a place. This person's novel is a coming-of-age story. That makes sense. A novel could be a story. This person is a story. No, this person is a person. Published 2 years? No. So hopefully that demystifies these questions for you guys in case they were causing you any trouble. All right, we're moving on to another hack here. But before we do, I wanted to ask you guys, quick check-in. Do you struggle more with math or with English? For me and my students, I definitely get a mix. I work with, students one-on-one, and I would say it's a toss-up. Lately, I would say more of them are struggling in English, but definitely I get a handful of both. All right, I'm seeing English, math, English, 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 English. Okay, a lot of English. I thought that might be the case, that I would see a lot of English. And for that reason, I did want to let you guys know. The special offer that I'm giving to you guys, if you stick through until the end, is going to be a discount on my full English bundle. And if anybody has signed up for the full English bundle in the chat, I'd love you to give me a shout out. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about this at the end, so definitely stick around after Q&A for that. Okay, let's get back into it. Tip number 4. Who is this man? Oh, wait, I need to get rid of him myself. Who is this man? Or should I say this boy? Little Timmy. Well, let me tell you something about little Timmy. Little Timmy, as you may have guessed from the name, is little. And part of being little and growing up little is just he never was able to really become very confident in himself. So whenever he speaks, he uses hedging language. Hedging language being language that softens things, rather than say, that tree is beautiful. He might say, I think that tree's kind of beautiful. Or if he wants something, like maybe he wants to have pizza for dinner, rather than say, you know what, we should have pizza for dinner, he might say something like, would you guys maybe want to have pizza for dinner? He's not very confident in what he says. And while I would argue in life, we probably don't always want to be like Timmy, on the SAT, for these types of questions, when you're being asked to draw a conclusion from data, you definitely want to be like Timmy. You do not want to give confident answers. You want to use hedging language. So let's practice this concept. Take a look at the question and just be as much like Timmy as you can. But basically, if we're looking at this, I see in choice B, we have the word exactly. Little Timmy would never be so confident to say exactly. C, it is not possible. Little Timmy would never be confident enough to say it is not possible. So I'm starting to see some better choices here. We have it is likely, right? It is plausible. That sounds like nice hedging language. Ooh, but in choice D, all visitors? Oh, but also choice A? Okay, so at this point, we've eliminated a couple of answers, but at least we can kind of, figure out what's going on here. It is asking us, the difference. What is the difference, guys? We have either all visitors hiked between 4 and 5 miles, or the mean distance hiked is between 4 and 5 miles. So at this point, we would just look at the language, and indeed, it does say mean. So choice D is going to be our answer. All right, let's hang out with little Timmy for another question here. This one, the majority of all fish in the pond weigh less than 2 pounds. That is a very definitive statement that they weigh less than 2 pounds, so that's not going to work. The average weight of all fish is approximately 2 pounds. That one sounds okay. Approximately 30% of all fish weigh more than 2 pounds. All fish, in both of these, all fish seems sort of confident, but in D, I'm seeing all largemouth bass. So we just need to check with the text. Is it talking about all fish or just largemouth bass? And indeed, the sample was largemouth bass. And another tip is just to make sure that your sample always matches up with your population that you're trying to project for. All right, so we're going to say goodbye to choice, or sorry, we're going to say hello to choice D because that's our answer. Okay, last one. Let's get rid of any confident language here. Whoops. I gave you guys a preview of the next super awesome throwback. Okay. Approximately 3% who are classified are not really heavy texters. I like approximately. It is not possible. That's too confident. Choice C, the percent of all U.S. teens who are heavy texters is 33%. I'm not seeing any hedging language. That is not going to work. And then it is doubtful that the percent of all U.S. teens who are heavy texters is 35%. So we're left with A and D. And where are these numbers coming from? It's talking about a margin of error of 3%. Margin of error, as you may know, is going to be, if we have 33%, then it's likely that our true number is going to be 3 more, within a range of 3 more or 3 less. So, oh, sorry, they said 30. So if you had 30, 3 more would be 33, 3 less would be 27. So it's probably going to be in that range. Choice A is just misinterpreting the meaning of margin of error. So we're going to say goodbye. And yeah, our answer is choice D. Okay, now, super awesome throwbacks. In the chat, let me know, what is this mysterious item? What could it be? And let me jump in and see how you guys are doing in the chat here. All right. That's enough time. Oh, we got joystick. The joystick is on there. The joystick is going to be this little guy right here. But this is a Nintendo 64 controller. Yes, one of the silliest looking controllers of all time, in my opinion. I remember when it came out, it was even silly then. But my goodness, what a wonderful system and what a lot of great games and good times. All right, let's get back into it. You guys are going to like this last hack. Be lazy. Yeah. And this is something that I preach all the time in my YouTube videos and also in my course. I want you to be as lazy as possible because you're doing a timed exam. I think it is rude that College Board is making you do a timed exam. I think it's rude that schools are making you do a timed exam. So, fight back. Use shortcuts. Be lazy. And with rhetorical synthesis questions, that is to say these ones that have the notes, we're going to be lazy by ignoring the notes because the vast majority of the time we're not going to need them. All we need to do is focus on the goal being, in this case, identify the real author of Adam Bede. And you're going to eliminate answers that do not match that goal. Choice A says, the real author of Adam Bede was Mary Ann Evans. That is identifying the real author. I would definitely keep that. George Eliot was assumed to be a pseudonym. That does not tell me the real author. The title page indicated the author's name was George Eliot. So that's sort of like hinting at it, but it's not actually revealing at it. I'm trying to be kind of tricky there. D, a woman who had used the pseudonym to conceal her identity was later revealed herself as the real author. That one almost seems right as well, but it's not telling us who that woman was. So D is out. And yeah, choice A. We don't have to look at the notes, right? Go ahead and try this one out. We're going to ignore the notes again. We want to make and support a generalization about this definition. So let's first look for generalizations. The definition of an island is any piece of land is supported by some. That is sort of a generalization, but I'm not seeing any evidence because it does say support, so we would need some sort of supporting evidence. So A is out. B, multiple counts of islands have been based on different definitions of an island. That's not even mentioning the nosologists. What is a nosologist? Is that like somebody who studies an island? Oh, I guess if I actually read the notes, I would know. But I don't care. I don't care. I'm just going down a rabbit hole. Based on a recent count, Sweden has a relatively small number of islands, not even mentioning them. And then D, better be right. Nesologist different definitions can result in huge disparities in counts of islands. That's a generalization. As the example of Sweden shows. That's an example which supports it. So that's what we're looking for. So be lazy. Ooh, but not too lazy. Because while step 1 is to ignore the notes and hold on to any answers that work, sometimes you run into questions like this one where it says, describe the exhibition that this person curated in 2018. If we look at choice A, I'm not seeing 2018. Choice B, I'm not seeing 2018. Choice C, I'm not seeing, oh, actually, I am seeing 2018. But it says to describe an exhibition, curated exhibitions, it's not describing them, so that doesn't work. And then D doesn't have 2018. So if you eliminate everything, you're going to have to look at the notes. And if you eliminate nothing, or if you have a couple of leftover answers, that means you're going to need to check the notes to see which one actually works. So in this case, I don't know what the name of the exhibition is from 2018, so I'm just going to find that out real quick. And then boom, 18 was Pacha, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, indigenous space, this, right? So now I'm looking for this. And I don't see it in A. I do see it in B. I don't see it in C or D. Let's just make sure B describes it. Featured works by 7 emerging Latino artists. That's somewhat of a description, so that works. And yeah, choice B is going to be our answer. All right. So, question for you guys. Go ahead and drop this in the hack. I want to know which one of those 5 hacks feels like it'll save you the most points on Saturday. So if we kind of go back through time here, we had the reading one sentence for punctuation. We had focusing on the slope if you have either infinite or no solutions. We had the front flip, which was where you take the answers and stick them in front for those modifier questions. We had be like Timmy. That's to say, have that hedging language. Don't be making definitive statements if you're dealing with, those types of questions where you're taking a sample and projecting to a population. And then finally, the last one that we just did, which was being lazy for rhetorical synthesis questions. Let me know in the chat. I'm seeing a lot of little Timmy, couple of front flips. Yeah, I feel like the front flip and the little Timmy are the ones that most students don't know about. So I'm glad you guys were able to learn about it and hope it does save you some points. All right, so I did say that I would answer questions. Now, I do want to apologize to you guys because I was saying go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. I am now realizing that I have not prepared any way of looking for questions other than scrolling up through space and time to see what your questions were. So I apologize. I'm not going to scroll up through the chat look for the questions. Go ahead and drop your questions in the chat now, and I will answer for 5 minutes or so here. All right, I'm seeing one from Adonis008. And hold on, let me get this in front of me so that I can see better. All right, Adonis, what were you saying? Some graph questions are very big and very hard, and it's hard to process all of the info. Any tips? I do have a tip for you. I'm going to give you the tip, but then I'm going to direct you to a video because without the video, it doesn't really work. I want you to be lazy again. If we're talking about the English graphs, that is the quantitative command of evidence questions, you can actually skip the graph most of the time, which is phenomenal. Just like with the rhetorical synthesis, sometimes you'll be left with a couple of answers that work, so you'll have to look at it, but for a lot of them, you can skip it. So check out my channel. There's a video, I think it's literally called like English graphs or something, and I go into details about that. Donuts wants to know how to improve in reading. That is a very big question, Donuts, and it has a lot of answers depending on what you're struggling with in reading. So what I am going to say as a blanket statement that I know for sure will work is to work through my videos on YouTube, or if you're really serious, to go ahead and enroll in my English course. I break down every single question type, give you a strategy for it, and the course is aimed at giving you just a full-on 800 in English. All right. Which, Nada, which do you think will be difficult in August, English or math section? I think both of them will be just as difficult as they always are. So if you are stronger in math, then English is going to be harder and vice versa. We've got Ian was talking about being stuck at reading. So my same answer applies to how to get better in reading. Travis, how do I master vocabulary? This is a really tough question, and you guys are not going to love the answer. Vocabulary, I hate to say it. The original SAT that was on paper, I think was not great. And by and large, I prefer the digital one. But the one thing that I did like about the written SAT was that it did not have vocabulary. And the reason I like that is because you can be so well educated and so prepared. But if you happen to come across a question that just so happens to have like 2 or 3 words you don't know, it's going to end in a coin flip. And the best thing you can do is to go back through time and read a lot as a child, but obviously you can't do that. So there is a vocabulary packet. If you guys shoot me an email at robert@penguintestprep.com, I can hook you up with that. I could also hook you up with some free flashcards, which are not the best method, but they're the best method in a short amount of time. Other than that, you can also get used to getting more comfortable with root words, prefixes, and suffixes. But at the end of the day, it's really going to be about coming up with a prediction and trying to match your prediction to the answer choices, which would mean you have to know the vocab. All right. Should I do 2 practice tests today, says Fatalis. No, don't do that. That's too much. I usually don't recommend doing more than a practice exam in per week. And I would never say to do more than 1 in a week, because why would you take a practice exam if you don't have time to actually review it and then target the types of questions that you're missing? No, do not do 2 practice exams in one day. Do 1 practice test and then spend the rest of your time targeting specifically the types of questions that you missed on that practice exam. All right, when to use transition? Sorry, Aya, that is a bit of a vague question. I'm not sure what you mean. Safa, do you think I can go from 500 to 670 using your tips? I do. It would require some practice. Usually an increase of 100 points or more is going to take at least 3 weeks, up to a month. But yeah, use my tips and practice with them. Creep Nico. I love the name. Oh, you got the creep face too. Nice. Does each country get same questions? I am pretty sure the answer is yes, but I don't work for College Board, and I haven't done any deep research, trying to get my international students to talk with the U.S. students and compare anything like that. But yeah, I would encourage you to go on a mission and find out and then let us all know. I think the answer is yes, though. Thanks from Egypt. You're welcome, Mohammed. Hugh Georgie says, what score can I expect if I'm averaging 1560-ish on Blue Book tests? So, Hugh, this is a tough one because, again, I've worked with a lot of students one-on-one, and I have seen students who do really well on their practice tests, and then they just get really nervous on test day and their score drops a lot. I've also seen students who maybe are taking their second exam and they don't have that fear of the unknown. So they're not as scared. They end up getting around the same score. And then I have these other students who are probably in the rarer category who just thrive on the adrenaline or whatever, and they end up doing way better on their official exam because they weren't putting their full effort into their practice exam. So I cannot say, but given that College Board has, released new practice exams and actually discontinued 1 through 3, I do think the practice exams are a better reflection now of your actual score. So if you don't get above 1,500, I would be surprised. And I only got time for, let's say, 3 more questions. And I'm so sorry if I wasn't able to get to your question. Donuts, what are you doing? You want me to act like a dog? I'm not a dog, Donuts. I'm not going to read that comment. Okay, where were we? Okay, a nudge, do you have any predictions? Yes, I have a predictions video. Check it out. Samari, hello, I've been watching you for a while. Is there any tips you can give me on saving time in reading module 2 and how easily to eliminate answers? So for saving time, the tips that I gave today, yes, but also if you're not already doing it, start around question 14 or 15 and do the writing questions first because they go faster. And you should be solving grammar and punctuation questions in like 20 to 30 seconds. Zip through those, then go back and do the reading, and you will have extra time for the reading. But there's also a lot of strategies that will help you to go faster through the reading questions. And again, I would point you to my my courses for that. All right, only a couple more here. I'm sorry, I'm going to choose one that I think is a better one. Do you read the whole text in reading questions from Unknown Doge? No, I do not. Some questions, I would say the one type that usually gets my full attention in module 2 would be inference questions. But other than that, there's usually a lot that you can skip. Again, I can't go into detail because I don't have any examples to show you or anything, but my reading course goes into great detail in that one. Man, I need to get a bot. Unknown Doge, you're spamming, man. Very, very uncool. All right. I'm seeing a lot of spamming now, so I'm going to go ahead and stop answering questions because it is just about time to do so. And I did tell you guys that there would be a special offer. So again, my full English bundle is available, and usually on my videos, you can get a little 5% discount. Just, to let you know, there have been hundreds of students at this point who have taken it, and they have a lot of good things to say. So I'm hoping that, you guys have watched my YouTube videos and you feel confident that I'm able to teach you because of those. But in case not, there are some folks who have gone through it and they have a lot of good things to say about it. So it's good. I say it's good. They say it's good. I'm very proud of it. And it's not perfect, but I'm improving it month by month. I get feedback. I add new videos. I adjust videos. And you will get, access for life when you purchase it. All right. And the deal is 25% off for you guys. This is only going to be, I was going to say the next 24 hours, but I want to give you guys until basically the exam. So I'll make this available in the description of this video until, we'll say, the end of Saturday. And there's the actual link that you can use if you feel like trying to copy that or something, but you could also just use the, in the chat, I also put it for you guys. So yeah, that's about it for me, but thank you so much for showing up. I apologize for the sound at the beginning there, but I appreciate your patience as we worked through it. And I really do hope that you guys are feeling confident about going into the test on Saturday. I wish you the best of luck. Have a fantastic rest of your day,